Alrighty. Here we go, here we go, here we go. Welcome to another live design streaming session. I'm your host, Verma Henry. This is the Do Better UX live design streaming sessions. I can hear echo in my head, so let me just pause that audio a little bit. So today I've got a little bit of a theme going on for you, a little bit of Among Us imposter syndrome type of feel. I want to talk about imposter syndrome, which is something that we have gotten to experience a lot of and hear a lot of people talk about over the years, over the last couple of years rather, purely because of the way that we've been experiencing the world and how we've been interacting and how people get instant gratification from the internet, etc., etc. So I hope that you can hear me well. Let me just switch to my audio settings here. I can see that my mic input is pretty good. So if you're having any difficulties hearing me and you're joining us live tonight, please feel free to let me know if you want me to adjust anything. You will hear that we don't have any background music. Some people prefer this, some people don't. I am trying it out as well as purely because I'm trying out a new computer and I haven't been able to set up the background music for the live stream as I usually have it. So I hope that you enjoy. Please do let me know in the comment section when you're watching this, if you're watching this live, how you like sort of like the sound and just me talking in the scene without any background music, how that sounds for you. So I hope that you have something to drink, you're comfortable. Happy Pride Month, by the way, to everybody out there. I hope that you are expressing yourselves and are celebrating this month of freedom, really freedom to be able to express ourselves as the individuals that we're born to be, not necessarily something that is made out of some social contract, you get what I mean, that we're trying to live by, or that we see by, or that we are raised by, right? So happy Pride Month. I'm not gonna dwell on that a little bit. But yeah, if you're just joining us, or if you're watching this for the first time, this is live design streaming sessions that we do every week. We go live here on the channel. So if that is something that you're interested in and don't want to miss out, consider subscribing to the channel. What we are is that dobetterux.com is really a platform and a community of designers where you can learn how to build great products and take your careers to the next level. We try and share real life experiences that we have around other people that we communicate with on a daily basis, world proven stuff that we have tried and tested in the real world is what we try and preach here on the channel, not really just some methodologies that we're trying to sell. We're not really trying to sell much, if anything at all. Maybe some courses that might be coming up on the pipeline over on dobetterux.com. But currently, you can get a lot of free content on our podcast and live right here on live design streaming sessions. We do live design streaming sessions where sort of like highly talk about something like today, talk about UX design and imposter syndrome, right? And we also have sort of like proper, well thought out events where we talk about, UX design career topics as well as product design topics that can help you as a startup, somebody who is working in a corporate as a manager, or just somebody who is starting out in UX design to be able to navigate your career better, etc., etc. So that is what Do Better UX is really about, and dobetterux.com is where you can find all the latest stuff that we'll be working on and the lineup of all the future stuff that will be there. So yeah, if you like this content and you have watched our channel for some time and feel like you want to suggest a couple of things that you are interested in hearing our perspective on it, please just let us know in the chat of whatever video that you're watching at that time, or you can hit us up over in our LinkedIn group. You can just look up Do Better UX. You can find our LinkedIn group as well. I'm just gonna head over to see to monitor how everything is doing, and to see how social media is doing, etc., etc. Before I jump into today's topic. Ooh, I've really been enjoying this flavored teas since it's winter here in South Africa, and it's been getting really cold. So yeah, I've been trying out a couple of hot beverages here and there. Cool. All right, so let's get right into the topic of today. So I want to talk about imposter syndrome, and this is uh, sort of like a feeling that you don't deserve to do that certain thing. I'll give you a couple of scenarios and I'll talk through it. I want to, try and make it not as educational, but more just conversational from my side, especially because I don't want to say that I have, ways to solve imposter syndrome, but I can suggest a couple of things that I've seen work for me myself, and some of the things that I've experienced myself. So have you ever felt like, as a UX designer, as a product designer, or as a UI designer, who is ever going to enjoy your products better than, how can they ever be better than what is Google made, or what is Uber made, or Airbnb, or any other famous company within your market or community? So have you ever had that feeling, like when you design something, like, okay, cool, this might not be as good enough as Google, but I think some people are going to use it, and you might feel like you are not really being honest with yourself, and this might be something that people might not really use. You don't really have that confidence of even using a style that has not been used before, because I mean, who are you to start off something from scratch, right? So you might hear some background noise with the baby is crying. This is 2021, working from home, streaming from home, but I hope it's not too bad. That's why I have this mic super close to my mouth so that I can cancel out most of the noise. But I hope it works. If it doesn't, I'm sorry about it. I have four children and one of them is a small baby, so yeah, it's gonna happen at some point. Anyway, back to the conversation. So sometimes we do feel that thing where we're like, you know what, maybe I don't really, maybe who am I to put a new design style, a new design language into the world? We always want to use methodologies that have always been there. Who are we to start out with our own new methodologies, right? Like design thinking has been there for some time, for such a long time. And who are we to come up with our own stuff? And we feel like we're not qualified enough, or, even if we have great ideas that we have, and if executed, will be actually maybe even way better, or if tried and tested, but we actually never give these ideas the opportunity to surface to life, purely because of how we feel about ourselves and the confidence that we have toward building a certain aspect of our career, or really setting out forth our ideas, and we're scared of how they'll be accepted and taken in. So that is what I'm talking about in today's live stream. I'm really talking about that concept where you feel like, who are you, to position yourself in that way. And it's a thing that I have battled with for most of my life, not only in my career. That's why I have been pushing myself to really speak out my mind, because I've started seeing that there's a lot of value. As much as I think that, okay, it's fine, I know these things, it's really, quick and easy stuff for me to do, because I've been doing it over and over for people who know the same stuff, right? Who know the same value, who know the value of the specific thing that I do. I've started to see that there is also a world of people who don't know the stuff that I know, right? Whether it's clients who I'm helping with building better products, through helping them think think strategically about their design decisions, or it's just other people, other designers that are trying to figure out how to do a specific thing that I have done before and experienced before. And we always forget the fact that people might have not experienced this thing before. It's so natural to us, for us to do it without skipping a bit. But it's really also valuable to other people who have never experienced such things, right? So it's important to understand that there is different worlds out there and there's different perspective. And sometimes, usually most of the time, the thing that you get hired for and specialize in, it's a thing that adds value to whoever is paying for that, right? That's why you're hired to do that specific thing. That's why you're sitting in that seat. That's why you are the guy who is there, and not, that's why they hired you, for you to help them with that specific thing that you're solving, right? So usually the people who hire us have more faith in us than we do ourselves, and we find that sort of like feeling creeping up with us, and we can't help it but feel like imposters, in certain environments and certain times. And this really affects how we communicate and show confidence in how we communicate our ideas, and put our minds out there about specific things that we're trying to do in professional settings, especially within designing a new design language, coming up with a new way of problem solving, doing a workshop, etc., etc. We sort of like tend to fall into the safe thing, which is just going into whatever has been done before. So we look in our bucket list of the methodologies that have been there, or some of the new ones that people who are brave enough have come up with to give to us, for us to be able to execute. Even though if we might feel that we could do something, maybe a certain step in a certain process or methodology, we might want to do a certain step differently. We don't really have the courage to summon ourselves up to it, to say, okay, this is me, and I think this is what we should do here, because it will simply work better. And sometimes our ideas are really good, and if we position them forward, we might have the opportunity to actually table them and execute them. Sometimes we might not have the opportunity to execute them, but I think it's way better than to just have the moment where you're sitting there and trying to figure out if it's going to work or not without even testing it out, and letting ideas die off without even giving them a chance. So this is this is something that I've suffered with for quite some time in my career, and I wanted to talk about it today because it is something that has affected me recently on creating content for this channel, whether it's the podcast or these live design streaming sessions. There are a lot of ideas and a lot of scenarios that I have. Case studies, real life experiences of things that I come up with and things that I've experienced and done, that I want to share with the world. But sometimes I just ask myself, who am I to do this? Who am I to position myself as the guru, right? Like, anyway, by the way, I'm not trying to position myself as a guru or anything, but who am I to talk about this specific thing when there could be way other people who might be better at explaining it than me. But again, why are those people not explaining it? Why are those people not creating platforms like this and not speaking about these things? Why are those people not stepping up? Why am I the one who's stepping up and doing it? So just by having the courage of stepping up and the idea of actually stepping up and doing something about it, I think sometimes we forget the initial thing that gave us the spark and that drive to take off and really do what we want to do with our lives and our careers, and how we want to position ourselves into the market that we are in. So I understand that we do feel that way, like what qualifies us, right? Who are we to do a specific thing? But I think it's also important to see the value that comes out of the conversations that we have with people, the services that we render to other people, and how we actually impact businesses and products that are used in the real life experience. I mean, if you're a product designer and you have created a product that solves any part of anyone's life, even if it's one user, I think it's super important for you to acknowledge that you've added tremendous value not only to the company that is rendering that service, but to the person who is receiving that service. I think that is tremendous value added into the world that has not been there before, ever before. Like before Gmail and Google Maps, there was no Gmail and Google Maps, and people could not use those services. And a certain portion of their life had to be through mail and took time and had to use paper, etc., etc. And all of that has changed because of the invention. I'm not saying that Google created email and maps, and GPS and things like that. Of course, there's a huge part of what they use and how they establish now. But I mean, if they never came up with that stuff, nobody would have, been in that space and created that space for them to grow and be leaders in that specific space. I mean, who qualifies Google to be who they are right now? It's actually just the empowerment of the people that they hire. That's why hiring is such a big, important part of it's such a big important part of any big organization. If you look about how Google works, how Google runs, actually I'll recommend a book to you if you want to figure out how important hiring is for companies like Google. There's a book that I read quite a long time ago, but I still keep for reference. It's somewhere there on my bookshelf. It's called How Google Works, and it basically talks about how Google works as a company, how important hiring is for them, etc., and other moving parts within Google. So pretty good read if you're a startup company and you are trying to figure out how to hire the right people, or if you're just a UX designer who is trying to figure out how big corporations work and how can you add value and sort of like fit in the cog once you understand how everything works and how it moves. So if you're watching this live, please let us know where you're watching it from in the world. Say hello. And if you're watching it as a replay after the fact, please consider dropping us a comment in the chat section below or wherever it is. It might have moved in the future because of design, right? Let us know if you sometimes feel, if you're a UX designer or a UI designer or some sort of a product designer, do you ever have that feeling where you are designing something or, preparing a workshop or whatever it is that you're trying to position to a customer or rather a client, when you feel that who are you for you to be positioning this, you sort of feel that yes, it will be received well by your customer, but it will never be as good as something that would come out of Google, etc., etc. Please let me know if you feel like that sometimes, and I want to try and find out what actually makes you feel like that. Is it because you feel that your skills are not as sharp? Or do you feel that other companies just have better talent that might be better than you? Or do you feel that you are actually the right person and you're just, not the right talent in the right place, etc., etc. So let me know how you feel about imposter syndrome and if you ever experience it in your own personal capacity. Well, not in your personal capacity, in your professional capacity, if you're a UX designer, product designer, a UI designer, etc., etc. Really enjoying this tea. It's a Sunday night, yeah. And this week, I released a podcast talking about WWDC day one, sort of like my reactions from it. Of course, there's been a ton of reactions around it. So if you want to check out Not a UX Designer wherever you listen to your podcast from. We have it on all the major platforms. So if it's Spotify or Apple Music or Google Podcasts or whatever it is that you listen your podcast on, there's so many these days, and there's so many that are in different places as well. So if you are interested in listening to some of our other material, we don't really duplicate stuff, like some channels and some people, sort of publish whatever they have on the live stream as a podcast. We have specific podcast topics that we feel that these are conversational enough, and sometimes we don't really need to show anything, etc., etc. Whereas here on the live streaming channel, we try and do other stuff where we show you or demonstrate how certain things work, or show you how things are moving, etc., etc. So it's different platforms, and we try and keep them differently and create different content for it. So the podcast is called Not a UX Designer. Don't ask about the name. We started it about 3 years ago, and we try and talk about UX design career topics. We speak with people around the world, designers, design thinkers, product designers, product owners, etc., etc., to try and really unpack some of their real life experiences around the products that they build, how they build them, and how they get success out of the stuff that they do. So check it out if you want to hear my take on WWDC Day 1 keynote. There was a lot of expectations that were broken, a lot of disappointments rather, within the session itself, and some of the things that I really enjoyed personally, or that I took away as highlights. So if you want to check that out, check out Not a UX Designer. That's our podcast over here at dobetterux.com. So yeah, or you can just go to dobetterux.com if you want to check out all the latest stuff, upcoming events, the latest podcast, all of the other stuff as well. So yeah, if you like podcasts, I hope that you check that out and you will enjoy it as well. So let's continue with our imposter syndrome conversation. So this has been a conversation that has been super. What can I say? It has been online for quite a bit of time now. I think I've started seeing a lot of videos, main YouTubers talk about imposter syndrome, or at least the ones that I follow. I don't want to say main YouTubers. I think main YouTubers are different for every person. But at least for the ones that I follow, I've seen a lot of people talk about imposter syndrome, and I thought it was an important thing to talk about it from a UX design perspective, right? And I think we sort of like establish what it is, and my perspective of how I felt some of it, as a UX designer, as somebody who is positioning myself as a consultant, usually helping people with strategic design decisions that will either make or break their business. So this is something that is a huge thing to take on for me personally, I think, and I've wanted to sort of explain some of the feelings that I've went throughout my career. And recently, I've really managed to deal with most of those feelings in a certain way. And one of it is just by showing up and being there, and doing what I set out to do, or what I've been hired to do, right? One thing that I started realizing, and that I mentioned earlier in the stream, is that you're sitting in that chair, you are you are hired to do that thing, right? Not the person who was next or before you in the interview, right? Or in the conversation with your client or whatever it is. You are the person who's sitting in that chair, right? The person who hired you expects you to be the expert in what you do, expects you to be the guy in what you do, whether it's user interface design or product design or interaction design, whatever it is that you do, or write code or whatever it is, right? The reason why you are hired, whether you are in a huge company or you've been hired for that specific gig, you won the gig, the reason why you're there is purely because you are the guy. The person who hired you saw the value that you can bring to their company, whether it's driving a strategic design decision that will create a new feature that will help them stand out in the market, or really helping them execute their one solution that they're trying to take out and they didn't know how to put the building blocks together. Remember, again, we might not feel that our knowledge is valuable because it becomes very common to us. But I think it's very important for us to identify that the knowledge that we have is not common knowledge to everybody else. People are trained in different ways, and when people come seeking design expertise from you as a designer, that means that they know the value that you can bring to their product, to their company, to their life, and they're asking for you to bring that value. So usually, like I said earlier on, we find out that the people who are hiring us or who are seeking our assistance in the services that we render usually believe more in us than we believe in it ourselves. I remember selling my first website gigs when I was late in high school, and I was there thinking to myself, am I being am I scamming people? How can I say I'm a web designer? I didn't go to web design school. Is there such a thing? Do I need to get a qualification for me to do this? I mean, I know how to build a WordPress website, but what qualifies me for me to charge this guy an X amount of whatever money that I used to charge back then? And it hit me that, what, it's either that, these people really like me or they like my work, or maybe I was just the cheapest kid around. Um, it started hitting me earlier on in my career, that I've got a lot of value that I can actually bring to people's companies, and people's businesses as a whole. And I I started positioning myself as the value that the people actually saw in myself. I started believing in myself a little bit more, and I started positioning and speaking about myself and what I do with a little bit more confidence, purely from just practicing more of what I'm doing and seeing that more and more people are benefiting from it. Whenever I finish a project or a product and we have created a relationship with the with my client, where we almost feel that I am part of their company and part of their product team, it really gives me extra confidence when it comes to the value that I bring. And I always put enough work in myself to be able to recognize that even the little bit of comments of people enjoying to work with me or conveying the message better than the other person, whatever the reason might be, that they really enjoyed the interaction that I had with them, whether it's a workshop or it's a design activity that I was hired for to do as a piece of work. It's really important for me to be able to identify that and understand that it's actually there. I'm doing it, it's happening, right? So I think it's important for us to see that there is value in the work that we do as designers. I think we need to understand that value. And I think one thing that drives it might be the fact that, we usually don't charge the amount of money that we feel that, the value of the work that we bring to the table has, and that sort of limits the amount of work that we do and the value that we actually bring to the table. I don't know if I'm making sense. So because we don't charge enough money for the work that we do, we devalue it in that way, because we're like, okay, I'm doing a job for 5 grand, this is what I'm going to do for 5K or whatever it is. And if we could trust ourselves and value our work enough to charge 3 times or 4 times that, let's say from 5 grand to 25K or whatever it is, then we are starting to actually value our work before we even get into it. And when we get into it, we start sort of feeling that, okay, this is a 25K project, it's not a 5K project, and you sort of work according to that. And I'm just saying 5K and 25K as random figures here, not associated to any service or anything like that, or hourly rate or whatever it is, right? Or currency even. So so that's my take on it. What is it that you bring to the table, right? Believe in yourself enough to up your level of knowledge and skills in that specific field for you to be able to position and talk about certain things. Like, I am a product designer of about 8 years now. I've been a designer for about 15 years of my life. And I've done a lot of different things in my career. I have been privileged enough to be exposed to a lot of different fields of work, in e-learning, in web design, in app development, in corporate settings, in startup settings, in personal freelance sort of like gig startup stuff that I was trying to do. I've had successful businesses, I've had failed businesses, and I'm still working on different ideas, and speaking with people. Now I am teaching people around the world and tutoring the stuff that I know and I've learned along the years. And I've been working on a course over at dobetterux.com over the past couple of months, actually. And this has been my first official course that I've been working on. And it has been a battle for me to start, not necessarily to, I know what the course is about. We've prepared the course and it's on its way. Hope that you check out the website over at dobetterux.com. That way you will be able to sign up for it, and you'll get the release when we release it. My child is crying in the background. I'm getting a little bit distracted, and I'm trying to lower the microphone volume. That's why you see me coming behind the microphone like this, so that I'm a little bit closer, and put the volume a little bit down so that you can still hear me well. So I'm gonna talk like this until she comes down a little bit, and continue. So I was talking about developing the course. It has been a really good experience, sort of like coming up with a course idea and putting up Do Better UX, launching the product, which is the website, the community, and etc., driving everything, doing these live design streaming sessions, on top of the podcast. But when it came to actually, putting together the material, and as I was looking back after recording some of the material, the course material, I looked back at it and I thought to myself, I think there's really great value that I can give to other people that are starting out their UX design careers that I didn't have when I started it. And it will really help whoever is, consuming this course to cut short their learning curve, right? To wherever their design career destination is, whether they want to get into product or UI or whatever it is. It was really hard for me to be able to navigate and figure out what do I want to do with my UX design career, as a whole. And I wish I had some of the stuff that I was looking at that time when I finished recording some of the materials for the course. So I think I have started getting out of the mindset of, I think it happens mostly earlier on in our careers when we don't really have a lot of experience and we're still trying to, hit those stepping stones and, create our first projects, add our first initial value that we haven't proved elsewhere. But it also hits people who are as great like Albert Einstein and, Maya Angelou, that they have self-doubt in some of the great work that they have done. So, people are not immune to it. I think it is a human feeling. It is a human trait that we'll always have. But I think that we really need to look at the value that we bring, especially if we have experience in the field and we have, brought value in X scenarios before. We can always find more meaningful ways to engage with our customers and clients, to be able to provide them even more value that is customized for their specific scenarios and fit, since everyone is different at any given moment. So that is the conversation that I wanted to have with you today on the stream. Nice Sunday live design streaming session. Enjoying a cup of this is mint and watermelon tea. Now that's nice. Let me know if you enjoy tea, what beverages you enjoy. Maybe our upcoming meetup, we might share some similar beverages. So if you're interested in finding out more about content like this, events like this, if you want more career about getting into UX design, into product design, consider subscribing to the channel or our podcast, or just setting up notifications from our website so that every time we have something new, you can get notified. We do have upcoming events that are more specialized in specific topics, between just building products and UX design or product design careers, or just design careers as a whole. And I'm looking forward to seeing you in some of those events, if you're watching this. And if you really, really enjoy this and want to be part of our growing community, you can head over to LinkedIn. We've got a group called Do Better UX. You should be able to find it. If you just Google search Do Better UX, you'll be able to find all of our stuff. But the best way will be to go to our website, which is dobetterux.com. There you'll be able to find all of the updated links, etc., etc. I'm still trying to up my game on Instagram. We did a poll recently, and most of our community people highlighted that you are on Instagram. I do hear you. I'm still trying to figure out the whole thing, actually get a proper decent phone and not use this as a phone. So yeah, I think in the next coming month, we'll be engaging a little bit more there, and I'm looking forward to actually having a new experience and learning a couple of new things on being a new platform. So yeah, that is me. My name is Verma Henry, and I'm your host on this Do Better UX Design streaming sessions. I'm also your host on Not a UX Designer podcast. as well as other things that we do here at dobetterux.com. I hope that you enjoyed and found some value in this conversation, or at least just, enjoyed spending some time with me. If you liked it, consider pressing that like button. If you didn't, tell us what you didn't enjoy. Um, do put the thumbs down button, but do tell us what you didn't enjoy so that I know where to improve, what to improve in the next coming up live streams. So until the next one, I hope that you have a great rest of your weekend wherever you are in the world, or the rest of your day if you're watching this after the fact, and whatever day it is in the week. I hope that you enjoyed it, and see you later on in the week.